So welcome to today's webinar, Understanding Your Emotions. Today we are talking all about guilt and the impacts that it has on us. So Keith, I know you've been to some of my other webinars, so you'll probably get a similar introduction. And again, it is very similar to the other emotions. You know, it just has different impacts on us. It affects us in different ways. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share my screen with you both. Let me just bring that up. Okay, so if you do have any questions, just you can either save them to the end or type it into the comments, like, you know, in the comment section. And if you don't have a piece of paper and a pen, grab one now, because we are going to be doing a little bit of an exercise to help you understand your guilt better if you are carrying guilt today, okay? So I'd love to know where you're from. If you can, well, Gabby said she's from Canberra, and Keith, I know you're in America, so that's good enough. I've forgotten exactly where from, but that's okay. If you are not a member of my group on Facebook, Healing Little You, and you would like to join, you're feeling called to join, it's a really great supportive group where I help people heal their inner child, and I help them understand how their childhood has affected them today. So if you haven't joined, I do recommend that you do and check it out. So for those of you who don't know, my name's Anthea Spark, and I'm a soul-centered psychotherapist. I am also a kinesiologist, an energy healer, an intuitive card reader, and a workshop facilitator. So this year I'm looking at running workshops here in Melbourne, and I'm looking at moving more towards intimacy and sensual touch and teaching people how to be really vulnerable. So when we, pardon me, when we are trying to let ourselves out of the cage that we've put ourselves in, we have to learn to open our hearts and become really vulnerable. And that's something that we just have not been shown how to do unless it was modeled to us. So things like communication and eye contact and, you know, expressing yourself, they all need to be taught. And so this is the stuff that I'm moving more towards and that I've become really passionate about. Welcome, Amanda. So I'm the proud mummy of Sophie and Olivia, my two little daughters, who without a doubt teach me every single day how to be a better person. And the thing with children is they're your little mirrors, and they show you deep sense of love, but they also show you where you have unresolved issues, and they teach me about that all the time. So just when I think I've come such a long way, and I have, and I've mastered the art of remaining calm, or I've mastered communication with them, or something shifts and changes, and we go deeper and we go through the process all over again. So it's never ending. So my journey began, well, it didn't begin here, but this was the defining moment for me when I started doing my work, and I started really, really diving deep into my own work. And I realized how my emotions had made me physically sick. So where there were physical things that had contributed to my illness, I took a good look at my emotional stuff and how it contributed to my illness. So 5 years ago, I gave birth to my second daughter, Sophie. It was an elective cesarean. I had huge trauma from my first birth, giving birth to Olivia. And I think that trauma had been stored in my body as a memory of stress. Okay. And going into giving birth the second time, there was already all of that trauma there, right? So there was fear, there was shock, there was all sorts of things. And my immune system was weak when I went in for surgery, and 5 days later, the night before I was meant to go home, I woke up in the middle of the night and the whole left side of my face was completely paralyzed. And I didn't actually know what had happened to me. I'd never heard of Bell's palsy. I'd never heard of someone going in for a cesarean and coming out with a paralyzed face. And when I looked into it deeper, it was, you know, I was stage 5. My whole face, my whole left side of my face was collapsed. And this photo here is actually, this is a pretty good photo. This is when I was like the puffiness in my face had gone down quite substantially. So when I got sick and I'd wake up in the middle of the night to go feed my daughter, I used to think to myself, wow, like, it was a real wake up call for me. And I used to think to myself, gee, Anthea, you used to be able to blink and smile, and now you can't do any of that. And you took those things for granted. Like, what else have you been taking for granted? And I really started to go within and look at my emotional state and how my emotions got me sick. And this is what I uncovered. And the awarenesses were really brutal for me. So, just given birth, I had a 20-month-old daughter and a newborn baby, and here I was fighting this condition I knew nothing about. So this is what I uncovered. I uncovered that I severely suppressed my emotions, all of them. So if something triggered me, if I got triggered by someone or something, which I often did, I would just suppress it and I would bottle up that anger and I would just let it stew inside of me, right? I allowed people to take advantage of me. I was a massive people pleaser. I didn't ask for what I wanted. I was angry at myself, my husband, and my mum. I was extremely defensive. I was a massive overthinker. I was judgmental of myself and others, and I was a massive victim. And this went on for years, right? Years and years. Like, it was just constant. And of course, there were times where I was happier and, in my early 20s, I was more carefree and I would still suppress. But as you get older, it gets worse, right? Things trigger you a lot quicker, and because you're already bottling up all these emotions. And then that's when the body starts to get tired, and the body's like, you know what? I've been telling you to release these emotions. I've been trying to warn you to let things go or to change, but you're not listening. So here, take this illness. Here's an autoimmune disease. Here's some inflammation. Here's a rash. Here's constipation. Whatever it is, the body gets tired. So I started doing the inner work, and I was really fortunate enough that I'd met this acupuncturist, and I used to call him my Mr. Miyagi because he literally smashed my mindset. He didn't just put needles in me, he literally taught me how to have a new perspective on life and how to shift all of that. So I started doing a lot of work on my mindset. I started taking responsibility to how I contributed for the breakdown in all areas of my life, for the chaos that was manifesting in my life. I started healing my inner child, which I knew nothing about back then. And I started to learn how to ask for help, and I actually allowed myself to receive it because I was in a lot of trouble and I really did not know how I was going to get out of it. So when I was 15, I'd started reading Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. And then I started reading Wayne Dyer's books. And it was through reading those books and understanding how we could heal ourselves that I realized how I had made myself sick. And so I started to combine everything I had learned. I'd studied 4 years of soul-centered psychotherapy, and I'd done past life regression and lots of different spiritual courses like Reiki and all sorts of things. And so I started really believing that I could make myself better. And it was in doing this that I realized how powerful our mind is. Our mind can make us better, or it can make us sick, or it can lead us to success, or it can lead us to failure, whatever it is, right? We are the creators of it all. And so when I realized that, I was like, this is how I'm going to help people. This is what I came here to do. And so I've combined everything together, and that's how I help my clients today. So today, as I mentioned earlier, I want to talk to you about suppressed guilt. So Amanda, if you don't have a piece of paper and a pen, please grab one, because we're going to do a little bit of an exercise now about about guilt for you. So I want to really help you release some guilt, okay, if that's what you're carrying in the body. So guilt, the thing that guilt is really profound at doing is eating away at the body. Yeah, eating away at your muscles, eating away at your bone density, really, really deteriorating your organs. So that's what guilt is really good at doing. But let's look a little bit deeper into that. So the things you can experience with guilt are hip problems, migraines and headaches, weight issues, especially being overweight, because we use that extra weight as a form of protection. Heart disease, Parkinson's disease, impotence. You can suffer hernias, osteoporosis, which is, again, it's that bone density. It's the guilt's eating at the bone density, and venereal disease. So these are some of the things that it does to your body, okay? So let's just talk about getting triggered and how guilt is linked to being when you get triggered. Okay. So do you ever get triggered by people or things and then you react? So see the guy at the back there, he's getting angry and he's reacting because he's angry, or he's like someone's really triggered him, pissed him off. And then later what happens when you calm down, you actually feel bad about it. You're like, God, I wish I'd never said that, or I wish I'd never done that. Now, the reason that happens is because let's say, let's say, I'm just trying to think of an example. Let's say you said something to someone when you were triggered, okay? And it was something that they had shared with you in an intimate moment. They'd made themselves really vulnerable to you, and they told you that they feel really insecure about their body, or they're a heavy drinker and they don't know how to stop drinking, but they really want to. Okay. And they told you this in a very intimate setting. And then when you got triggered, what happens is when we get triggered is often, if we haven't resolved our emotional state, we haven't healed it, we will want to hurt that person back, because essentially in us being triggered by them, they've hurt us. Okay. So this is what I call the teenage archetype. Yeah. The teenage archetype is really good at that. I'm going to attack you back, or I'm going to go into silent treatment. Okay. So we've now attacked them back and we've told them, God, you can't even control your drinking, something like that. Okay. And you feel guilty for that now. Now, what happens is, let's say you've carried that guilt. Yeah. And you're like, I can't believe I did that. I feel so bad. That's so mean. And then that person broke up with you. Okay. And you've carried that guilt for the last 20 years. Now, that guilt is like a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. And we can have multiple ticking time bombs. We can have anger, we can have resentment, we can have shame, we can have all sorts of time bombs. So does that make sense to everyone before I move on? Yeah? Okay. So, and I just mentioned that. I mean, I just talked about how guilt plays its role, and how it actually, what guilt does is, so you're carrying this guilt all around with you, okay? And then someone triggers you, and perhaps it reminds you of your past lover that you broke up with 20 years ago, they broke up with you. And what that guilt does is it makes you angry at yourself. Yeah. And you start judging yourself, and then you start resenting yourself. And so for the last 20 years, you've just been literally punching the hell out of yourself over and over and over again. Okay. And when you get triggered next time and you get angry and you react, it's actually because you're really angry at yourself. And it's really got nothing to do with that other person. So that other person coming in is actually here mirroring to you what you need to resolve within yourself. They are a powerful teacher to you. Okay. But often, a lot of the times, we are so challenged by our victim mentality that we go straight into, why they're doing this to me? How could they do this to me? Rather than rising up above that and going, oh, wow, ouch, that hurt. What am I here to learn right now? What is this really all about? Yeah. So when you get triggered, let's say there's that 20-year relationship. This is the you who had the 20-year relationship, who attacked their partner and then they left, right? And there's multiple different versions of us who have unresolved issues, who are hurt. And they're all inside of this giant house, and they are all inside of a room each. And when you get triggered, they kick open that door and they step in and they overpower you, and they're the ones that react. So if we don't heal our past self, all of those past selves, they stay with us and they haunt us, and they do a lot of damage in our present life. They do a lot of damage in our careers and our relationships. Okay, can anyone resonate with that? Yep. Keith's got his hand up. Yep. So it's really important to, yep, Gabby's got her thumb up. Yep. So it's really important to go in and do that inner work and look at why you're so angry. Amanda's saying yes too. Yep. So I think everyone can resonate with that, right? Okay. So grab your bits of paper. And what I want you to do now is I want you to write down, I want you to answer this question. Is there anything you feel guilty about right now? Maybe there's multiple things. So just write them all down. Okay. And just give me a thumbs up when you're done so we can move on to the next question. Okay. Thank you, Keith. Okay. Cool. All right. So do you feel like someone is blaming you for something? Or do you feel growing up that someone blamed you for something? Yeah. So really sit with that, like think about it, write that down. What is it that you feel blamed for? And it can even be a silent a silent thing. So what I mean by that is that they never actually told me they blamed me, but the way that they treated me, I feel like they were blaming me for something or they were punishing me because of something, right? And again, just do a thumbs up on the screen so I know that when you're done. Okay, and just before we move on from that one, just write down how has this affected you? How has this exact situation that we're talking about right now, how has it affected you? Okay. The next one is there anyone from your past that you still hold on to guilt about? For example, that relationship from 20 years ago, right? If you think about that, like, do you think about it and go, wow, if I'd just been different, or if I'd just done this, or if I'd just done that, things would have been different for us or could have been different for us? No. And again, just giving me a thumbs up when you're done there. And sometimes it can be something very simple, like it can be a very quick moment in time where you didn't acknowledge how beautiful someone looked, or you didn't acknowledge the delicious meal they cooked for you, or they, like, it can be something small like that as well. Because something that I found when I started to do all the inner work on myself is that I carried a lot of guilt. Yeah, guilt from little things, because I'm such a sensitive soul, um, and I can feel other people's energy, and I can feel how I make other people feel. When I was angry and I was defensive, I was almost oblivious. I wasn't oblivious to it, but I didn't want to admit it. So as I was beginning to do the inner work and I was emptying out my cup of all these heavy emotions, I was like, oh my God, I was really mean to that person. And so what I started to do is I started to clear my conscience. And I would message people from 10 years ago, and I would say, hey, I just wanted to touch base and say, I'm sorry about this, this, and this. And, they would say to me, Anth, that was like from 10 years ago. Come on. Like, I don't even think about it anymore. And I was like, yeah, but I do. And I just wanted to express that to you, that I really value you, and I'm not proud of my behavior. So and that's what I did for me. I'm not saying that you have to go and do that, but for me, that's what I chose to do, because that's what I felt like doing was going to make me feel better. Right. And I got to this point in my healing that I was like, it doesn't matter if they don't respond. I don't need a response. This is about me making peace with myself. Okay. So is there anything else from your past that you feel guilty about? Do you feel guilty about how you've treated yourself, your body, the way you've lived? Is there anything like that? And if you do have any questions or you want to share anything, please unmute yourself.
Anthea,
Yes, Keith.
uh, I'm recollecting that I used to feel badly about expressing anger about a situation that I had nothing to do with. I didn't contribute to it. And I was told that I was an angry person. And, and it's just, as I've expressed before, not being heard and not being valued. Uh, so I felt bad about my, anger. And lots of times it's reasonable and is a has been a positive factor in my life, and that is it just sort of supplies the energy to accomplish something that is worthwhile for me and ultimately to other folks. But I'm remembering it. My brother ran away from home and had gotten like 400 miles away, and we were living in Canada, and the RCMP picked him up, and I was blamed. I was blamed for I shouldn't have known somehow that he was planning on running away, and that I knew, and why didn't I tell my parents? Well, I didn't know. Well, of course you did. I mean, that sort of, for a teenager, that is a tremendous burden. And yet I never saw any repercussions for my brother. I was the one responsible for causing the anguish in the house.
Mm.
I don't know how that happened. And I think as I look at my life, there are things that have directly expressed or caused that anger to come forward. And like you said earlier, I heard my body saying, you've got to get out of this situation because it isn't going to end well. You deserve better. The situation, the other person deserves better. But I just ignored that. And then there was near tragedy.
Mm.
when I quote unquote resolved it. And so when you say, we store it in our body and sometimes, boom, well, it's not just a TNT explosion, it's like a nuclear bomb going off. And there's a lot of damage, not just to me and the other person, but just the fabric of this part of society I live in. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And like we're not taught that it's okay to be angry. Yeah.
mm,
Where we
right.
have this, we're taught that we should try and be happy and get up again and but we're not taught about that. It's, hey, if you're angry, well, you know what? You deserve to be angry. It's okay that
Mhm.
you're angry, but let's talk about what we're going to do with that anger, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't want to
Um,
suppress it, and we don't want to explode and create all this damage. So what's a healthy way we can, express this anger? What can we do with it?
right.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, that was never patterned for me. And as I'm thinking of the significant uh, male figure in my life, my dad, his his anger, I could feel it, but I never saw him express it. And that's for the longest time that I learned. Oh, you just sort of suck it up, and
Yep.
and well, that's good for somebody else, but when you don't know what you do with it inside, uh, there's no modeling for that. So
Yeah. Yep. And especially growing up as a man as well, men were told even more to suck it up and to, men didn't
mhm,
talk about their emotions back in your day, did they?
yeah,
So even now, now we're seeing men beginning to talk about their emotions, but still very early stages, you know?
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
So thank you for sharing that. Yep.
mm, yeah. We being men, fail to see how women, in so many ways, like even with race issues, are imaging a very positive and healthy repair or healing work. So we don't even look to to the women in our lives to see. Wait a minute, I can learn something here that will
Mm.
make me better. So that's a big lesson we have to learn.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, does your past tie in with your present? Yeah. So, all of those things that we've talked about, the guilt from the past, is it tying into your present life? Is it affecting your present life? Is it affecting your behavior? Yeah. And how? So, I want you to write that down. Now, the important thing to realize here is that anytime you hold on to that guilt, you um, blame yourself for the past, you attack yourself for how you behaved, what you're literally doing is you got to imagine you're throwing like an anchor towards the past, right? You've got this rope that's attached to you with an anchor and you're just throwing it to the past. And that holds you back. It holds you back from stepping into and becoming the adult that you truly want to be. Okay. And again, just giving me a thumbs up when you're done. You've written it down. So, the point of this, thanks, Keith, the point of this is to help you empty out your cup a little bit today. Yeah, so that you leave this webinar feeling lighter, feeling a little bit clearer, and hopefully it gives you a little bit of a taste of how good you can feel when you start to release your emotions so that you want to do more. Yeah, you want to keep going because your emotional body needs you to. Okay. Someone said to me the other day, my friend, I have a friend, we've been friends for 25 years, and he came over and he said, Jesus, Anthea, he goes, you look like you're getting younger instead of older. He goes, you don't have any wrinkles. He goes, what's going on? And I'm like, look, yeah, I take a few products and I take care of my skin and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, for me, when I started to clear out those heavy emotions from my body, I started to, like the way I looked started to change. I started to look lighter. My physical body isn't representing the body of this beaten up woman anymore. Yeah. I'm not carrying that anger and that grief and that shame and that guilt and da da da. So you have to think of your emotional body, right? Now, if you carry guilt, guilt requires judgment, which leads to shame, and it also leads to embarrassment. So now you're not just carrying guilt, you've also got the judgment. Judgment is huge. Judgment is so toxic. Yeah. Judgment, when we judge ourselves or others, we put on these glasses, like these terrible glasses that we see life through, and it just creates this dense, heavy energy within us. Okay. So let's just talk about this for a second. Your emotional body. Now, every time you attack yourself, you're literally punching your emotional body in the face. Okay. So let's say you go somewhere and let's say you go to get a coffee and you really like the person making the coffee. Yeah. You're like, you think they're really cute. And every time you get around them, you get all nervous and flustered and you start going, oh my God, well, it's not going to look, it's not going to like me, or she's not going to like me. And then they pass you your coffee and you spill it. And you get all embarrassed and you go red like a tomato. And then they're like, don't worry about it. I'll make you another one. They make you another one. They give it to you and you leave. And as you're walking home and you're walking this path of shame, right? Because you've spilt your coffee and you're all embarrassed and you feel like an idiot and you're saying, you idiot, I can't believe you did that. What's wrong with you? You are literally punching the shit out of yourself. Okay? So you've got to think about your emotional body. This woman is your emotional body. Now, if you leave the cafe laughing because of what you've just done, okay, and I'm giving you this scenario because I went through an exact same scenario, but for me, I didn't spill my coffee. I was literally talking to the man who made my coffee thinking, oh my God, he's amazing. And he's talking to me today. He's so delicious. And then I turned around and there was this man right behind me and I walked straight into him. Lucky I didn't spill my coffee, but I walked straight into him and then I walked out and I laughed the whole way home. Yeah, because to me, it was funny. I was laughing at how swept up I had gotten in this presence of this man. Yeah, because I'd learned how terrible it is to beat ourselves up. So now what I do is I laugh at myself because my emotional body needs that laughter. She's been beaten enough. Yeah. And so what? So what if he saw that I liked him in that moment? Right? I'm just being my true, authentic self. I'm learning how to be more graceful and more open in the presence of men. But in that moment, that's what happened for me. Yeah. And so I accepted that that's what happened. And the biggest healing you will ever have will come when you start loving and accepting all of who you are. Like Keith said, if I'm angry today, well, God damn it, I deserve to be angry. I'm going to allow myself to be angry, but I'm not going to do any damage. Maybe I'll go for a 10K run to burn that off. Yeah. Or maybe I'll clean the house aggressively, or I'll do something that is going to benefit me with that anger. Okay. So it's really important that you start accepting everything you feel. I feel sad today. Okay. I deserve to be sad. The people I love have left me. I deserve to be sad, but I'm not going to stay there for very long. Okay. So it's really, really important. Does anyone have any questions about that?
I kind of have one.
Yes, Gabby?
Um, you know how you said, like, you accept what you feel and then you move on.
Yeah.
Sometimes I find it really hard to do anything that I love, because I feel like I don't deserve to do the things that I love. I feel like if I do the things that I love, then I am what people say that I am, like a selfish person, or um that I'm only thinking about myself and I'm not being considerate of others. And I get stuck in this like trap of like, I feel like I have to be um sad and I have to be not okay in order for people to realize that I do care about them, and I do um I don't know, like what's best for them. And
Okay. Can
yeah.
can I ask for an example, please? Like what what is it? Can you give me an example of what it is that you would do that you love that would upset other people and make them think that you don't think about them?
I don't know, like sometimes I really like to do my makeup and like try to feel really good about myself, because I usually don't.
Yep.
And then post a photo on social media, not because of like clout or anything, but I used to just build I don't know, image that I could go back and look at and actually just create a collective of things that I love, and it'll make me
Yep.
feel good about my life, like
Yep.
memories of my life that make me realize that it's not so bad. But more recently, I've started to lose a lot of my friends, especially my best friend. Um, I think because I've just been so like I've held on to a lot of things in our friendship that I didn't think was okay, and I never ended up sort of voicing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lost contact, and now I feel like they just hate me.
Okay. Okay. So so there's a lot of stuff going on there, right? So let me just go back to the bit where you say every day you like to put makeup on and you take sometimes you like to your makeup and take a photo and put on social media, and it's almost like the social media is like a visual diary that you can go back to and go, oh, look how good I looked there, like that was an
Yeah.
okay time, even though I didn't feel great and I lost my best friend, I was okay, like I looked really good, like good for me for like making an effort to look good, right? Now how does that affect other people? Or why do you worry about how that's going to affect other people?
Um, because I feel like doing things for myself, if anything at all, is why people think that I'm selfish, because I'm not using my time to take care of their wants and their needs, especially family in
Okay.
that instance.
Okay. All right. So let me tell you that that's something. So that's, and like you said, you're stuck in this loop, right? You're stuck in this loop of pain. And often we get stuck in that loop of pain because it's a big part of our identity. Yeah. We know how to be the person who's stuck in the loop of pain. So we'll keep doing the same things over and over again so we can stay there. But Gabby, in order for you to break out of that, you're going to have to start putting yourself first, which means if I feel like getting up today and doing my makeup and taking a photo and putting on social media because that's going to make me feel good, then that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. If I feel like going for a walk, even though my mum wants me to stay at home and do the ironing, I'm going to go for the walk because that's going to make me feel good. Then I'll come home and do the ironing. Because the thing is that, Gabby, you can't help anybody else if you're feeling in a really shit state. Yeah.
Mm.
And so what you have to do, and this might be really difficult for you, is that you have to kind of start doing what you want regardless of what other people think of you. You're actually the most important person in the universe, Gabby. Yeah, you come first. Your health is the most important. Your emotional state is the most important. And this is what you have to start telling yourself. And it's going to be baby steps, right? And then you're going to have to get really good at communicating.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we assume people are judging us, or we assume people think we're selfish based on the glasses we see life through. Okay? Yeah. Now, when you become a really good communicator, you can diminish that really, really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something my sister says to me all the time. Anytime she sees me do something, like put myself first before somebody else.
Okay.
She,
So,
I'm not
what's,
a selfish person.
so, have you questioned her?
I have. I just hear it a lot more and more and more, and I'm just wondering if it's something that I'm doing wrong. Like I start blaming myself. And like I start to think, maybe I am selfish, and the whole spiral begins again.
Yeah.
Um, I'm
Let
not sure what that mirror actually is, if that makes sense.
Sorry, what was that? I didn't hear.
But because you know how everybody is almost like a mirror of yourself.
Yeah.
Question what that mirror actually means when my sister reflects that back at me.
Sometimes it's not a direct mirror, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a direct mirror, but other times she's reflecting back to me that I'm not using my voice to stand up for myself. Okay. Now, before we go into that, let me just tell you this. Now, if your sister's going to, you're so selfish for doing that, you're so selfish for doing this. Now, the way other people behave is because of what's going on inside of them.
Yeah.
It's not because of you. Okay. You may be triggering something within her, but if she's saying these things to you, which are not very nice, she sounds like she's in a fair bit of pain, Gabby. Yeah. And often the worse the attack, the worse the pain that person's in. Now, this is where you have to set some boundaries here. Yeah. And instead of going into victim mentality and going, oh my God, I am selfish. Oh God, I must have done something wrong. You're taking it really personally. This is where you have to go, you know what? I'm really curious. What is it that makes you believe that I'm such a selfish person? Now you're pushing back. Okay. But
Right.
you're doing it in an empowered way. You're not reacting. You're doing it in an empowered way. And you're like, question her. She probably will not know how to answer that question. Yeah. And what
Yeah.
you're actually doing is you're setting a boundary going, you know what? I'm not going to accept that. I'm not going to tolerate that anymore.
Right.
Does that help?
That's done before. Yeah, I'll give that a red hot go.
Give that a go and let me know how you go. If you need any more help, just reach out to me. Yeah. Because
Yeah, of course.
this is how I help people. I help people come out of victim mentality and begin to take control of their lives again. Yeah. And if we have people around us who are attacking us, that is not okay.
Yeah.
You should be selfish. You should get up every day and go, right, what do I need to do to make myself happy today? What do I need to do to feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah. And before you go out and you start helping other people and doing things for other people.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So, like I said, please contact me if you want to chat. I always love hearing from everyone who comes to the webinars. Keith, you have a question?
Well, just an observation for
Yes.
Gabby is
Yes.
that as she becomes more into herself, the people who will love and admire and want her, they will start coming into her new life. So she's doing the right thing by joining us, but I want to encourage her to understand that it might be a little bit lonely right now, but the new Gabby, the Gabby that has never really had a voice, that will resonate in the universe, and the universe will send all manner of positive people to be her friend and so on, who will understand and accept her for who she is and not make demands of her that are basically unfair.
Absolutely. It's a great point. It's so true. And that's what will happen. People will, sorry, Gabby, go.
Oh, sorry, just thank you.
Yeah. And it's true. People will come in and they will be like, I have so much respect and time for you because you're respecting yourself. Yeah. And imagine what's going to happen, Gabby, when those mirrors start coming in, when people start coming in and they're mirroring to you how much you're loving and respecting yourself.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's starting right now, guys. It's starting right now.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. And Amanda also, she put a comment saying that she understands as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Thanks, Amanda.
so I think we've all been in this boat before, Gabby. Yeah. So guys, if you do want to reach out and you want to chat a little bit more about this webinar or how I can support you, please contact me on Facebook Messenger. That's the quickest way to get in touch with me. I don't always reply straight away because I do get a lot of messages, but I will reply to you as soon as I can. You can follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. And you can also email me at antheaspark@gmail.com. So what I'd like to share with you now is my program that's coming up in April. I run a 16-week program where I help people release suppressed emotions, learn about boundaries, learn about all sorts of things. And I'm lucky enough, Keith has decided to come and join me. So Keith, I'm looking forward to taking you through this program and helping you become an even better and greater version of yourself. So if you are interested in hearing about the program and the offer that I have for you today, please stay on. And if you're not interested, I understand, that's okay. This kind of work isn't for everyone. It is a commitment. 16 weeks is a commitment. But I've found that 16 weeks, I can really help people have an amazing transformation, and I can teach them all of the tools they need to begin to move towards that adult that they want to become. So this is what you get in the program. You get 16 one-hour sessions and they're lessons. Okay, so you're learning about different things and we connect and we engage with each other. So one thing you'll do, like what you've experienced today, is you'll connect with other people who have experienced the same type of things that you have. Okay, and it's through that connection that you create even more transformation because you learn how to feel supported. You learn how to receive that support and how to express yourself. So it's really powerful. We will do guided meditations to help you reconnect to your inner child, because the inner child is where all of our issues are kind of created. Our beliefs, the lenses we see the life through start there. You get a unique affirmation track to help you reprogram your unconscious mind so that you can come out of victim mentality. There's worksheets. We do a lot of letting go, burning rituals. You become a member of a Facebook group, and there's lots of things, but I'm not going to go into all of it. But the main thing is that you will have a deeper connection with yourself. And that's what this is all about. Yeah. That you create this pillar inside of you that is unshakable. Yeah. You create this deep and intimate relationship with yourself that cannot be broken by anyone or anything. And it gets you to start making choices that will not hinder that connection you have with yourself. So these are some of the things we go through. So I won't go through everything, but the lessons are about, improving your mindset, reconnecting to your inner child, giving your inner child that love and affection that they never got as kids, diffusing triggers, learning how to use your voice, removing the need for validation, learning how to express yourself with empowered communication, welcoming self-forgiveness and self-acceptance, and then releasing those heavy emotions like anger, shame, and guilt. Yeah. So if you are tired of living this way, I would really recommend that you consider doing this program, because everything I teach you in this program, you will use for the rest of your life. Yeah, I designed this program because I had a lot of people coming to me and saying, Anthea, I've been in therapy for 10 years and I still haven't seen any changes. Do you think you can help me? And I'm like, yes, because I will teach you the tools you need to use every single day. Because it's not just, I'm going to go to therapy once a week and that's going to be me doing the work. It's going to be every day. Something's going to show up as an opportunity for you to better yourself. And if you have the right tools, then you can move through it like this. Yeah, you don't have to wait till your next therapy session. And so this is why people end up in therapy for so long. So my offer for you today is, usually this program is $1,399. That's how much I charge for my time. But if you book it and you pay today, then you get the discounted rate of $597 USD. If that is not doable for you today, I have a payment plan. So you can pay the amount in 6 installments, okay? So please reach out if you want to do it, but you can't afford it, or you need a different option. But if you do want to do it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to grab you the link for the program so you can go and check it out. Please let me know, does anyone have any questions?
How much is that in AED, and what's the payment plan sort of look like over 16 weeks?
So the payment, yeah, okay. So the payment plan's over six installments. But if you do need a longer payment plan, then you can hang around and we'll have a chat about it in a sec. Let me
Yeah.
just get you, I'll just get you guys the link first. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to pop the link here in the comments. And then I'm going to work out what that is, what the amount is in Australian dollars for you. Okay, so it's $771 Australian dollars. Okay. And if you did the payment plan, there's this 10% surcharge on it. And that's just because the company I use, they charge me 10%. Okay. And then you divide that by 6. Okay. So if that's not doable, just hang around a second. We can have a bit of a chat. Otherwise, if it is doable and you want to go ahead, you can just go ahead and click on the link and pay for that, and you'll secure your spot. So Amanda, the sessions are live. Yes, they run on a Saturday at 11 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time. Now, if you can't come to the sessions, you get all of the recordings uploaded into the Facebook group each week. So I have one lady in the UK, and she can never make it to the class, but she watches all of the replays. Okay. Now, the other thing that I do is I do 4 support sessions halfway through the program. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the recording there.